Analysis of the Korean War. Table of context. Historical context. What was the Korean War? Research question. What was the effect of the UN, US, and USSR on Korea? Political cartoons. Analysis of propaganda and cartoon drawings. Historical sources. Analysis of primary and secondary sources. Historical context. What is the Korean War? The Korean War was a conflict that took place from 1950 to 1953 between North Korea and South Korea. The war began on June 25, 1950, when North Korean troops crossed the 38th parallel, the line that divided North and South Korea. North Korea's objectives was to unify the Korean peninsula under communist rule. The conflict quickly escalated, with the United States and other UN members providing military support to South Korea, and the Soviet Union providing support to North Korea. South and North tensions. The North Korean leadership under Kim Il-sung believed in the unification of Korea under communist rule, while the South Korean leadership under Syngman Rhee was anti-communist and pro-Western. Tensions rose between the two Koreas, and in 1950, North Korea launched a surprise attack on South Korea, sparking the Korean War. The conflict reflected the bordered geopolitical tensions of the Cold War, with the United States and Soviet Union using the Korean peninsula as a battleground to promote their respective political and ideological systems. The fighting. The fighting continued for 3 years, resulting in the deaths of over 2 million people, mostly civilian. The Korean War happened due to political and ideological tensions that had developed between the two Koreas after World War II. In 1948, the Republic of Korea, South Korea, was established, while the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, North Korea, was created shortly after. Research question. What was the effect of the UN, US, and USSR on Korea? The Korean War, which lasted from 1950 to 1953, was a significant conflict in the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union. The UN also played a significant role in the conflict. Here are the effects of the UN, US, and Soviet Union on Korea during the Korean War. United Nations. The UN played a significant role in the Korean War, with the Security Council passing a resolution to support South Korea after the North Korean invasion. The UN also formed a multinational force, led by the United States, to fight against the North Koreans. The UN's involvement in the war led to establishment of the Demilitarized Zone, DMZ, that still divides North Korea and South Korea to this day. United States. The United States played a major role in the Korean War, providing military and economic support to South Korea. The U.S. forces, under the command of General Douglas MacArthur, led the UN forces against the North Koreans. The U.S. involvement in the war helped prevent the spread of communism in Korea and the rest of Asia. Soviet Union. The Soviet Union supported North Korea during the Korean War, providing military aid and advisors to the North Korean forces. The Soviet Union involvement in the war led to increased tensions between the US and the Soviet Union, contributing to the overall escalation of the Cold War. Political cartoons. Analysis of propaganda and cartoon drawings. Political cartoon 1. In this political cartoon drawing, we can see a soldier with UN written on his shoulder. This soldier is using a rope to squish the border between North and South Korea, with a small man in the middle. The message behind this is a conflict present in the 30th parallel, the ever-standing symbol that separates the northern and southern parts of Korea. Another message is how the UN has influence on the two Koreas, influencing two sides with its control on the 30th parallel, shown by the tight grip the soldier holds onto the rope. Political cartoon 2. In this political cartoon, we can see a representation of Stalin and Uncle Sam. We see that they are standing above Korea, with Uncle Sam holding a finger on the sign Korea. These two are fiercely looking into each other's eyes. The message behind this there, shared by the two, is a symbol for the conflict between each superpower, and the anger they hold for each other. Another message is how they are both fighting for the control over Korea as a whole. This is seen by the imposing posture they both have, nearly as if they are ready to attack. Third message is seen when looking at the finger of Uncle Sam and the scythe of Stalin. These two symbolize the power of the two. Uncle Sam's finger with its strong hold onto the Korea sign, showing the power that the US holds, and Stalin's bloody scythe, symbolic in the way to show that he didn't let bloodshed get into his way of achieving the goals and ambitions for Korea. Historical sources. Analysis of primary and secondary sources. CIA report on the Korean War. Origin. Baptism by fire. CIA analysis on the Korean War. It comes from the authorized section of CIA files on the Korean War. Value. It gives a direct, primary, first-person view of how the Korean War was lived through the perspective of a CIA agent. So the origin is directly from the CIA itself, giving it immense value as a secondary source. While it is a US-based source, it still includes much information from the other countries' news and media. Limitation. The fact that this is a secondary source already lowers its value and creates doubt for the accurateness of the information due to its origin. If it was a primary source from the soldiers themselves, it would have been more valuable. Another limitation is that this report is from the CIA, a US-based source of information, so it only offers the US point of view, not the point of view of the rest of the superpowers. Purpose: to give a report on information and the events that happened at the time, and include some of the intel that the CIA were able to collect. Value: the purpose it served is still important nowadays, but now it serves as a historical value rather than information, since the data it provides was only useful at the moment, and now it serves only as documentation of the events. Limitation: the limitation of its purpose is that while it has historical value, its information does not serve too much insight on the more interesting and pertaining facts and data that were useful at the time. Content: a report from the 16th of April, 1953, contains authorized information from the CIA on the progression of the war in Korea. Value: a very valuable part of the source is its content. It contains various different pieces of information from other news sources, and information from other countries, making its content varied and less possible to be biased. Limitation: a big part of the report is written in a manner that seems to be the direct opinion of the CIA agent writing it. This brings down the value of the source since it includes part of the agent's opinion and is not fully new to a report. Another limitation is that in the second page, much of the text is redacted, limiting the amount of information we can find out from this report. Historical source number 2, Syngman Rhee Mutual Defense Pact. It is a statement from the Korean-American Mutual Defense Treaty Papers, a message written by President Syngman Rhee. Value: it holds immense value since it is a direct message from the president of South Korea at the time. It gives a good understanding of how the president handled negotiations and provides insight on how Syngman Rhee and his political team worked. Limitation: while this message is directly from the president and his political team, I am not too sure of the accurateness. I suspect this because the website I used to find this statement seems a little doubtful and skeptical. Purpose: a statement from President Syngman Rhee to the UN and US. It is a list of demands with the purpose of progressing Korea. In 1953, the statement held huge value. Its purpose was to inform the other superpowers on how President Syngman Rhee wanted to handle Korea for the years to come. Since it was an official statement from the president and that it went directly to the UN shows how much value this statement holds. Limitation: the statement isn't exactly very imposing or commanding. It seems as if it was just a list of demands rather than the message of a president taking control for his country to progress for the future. Content: contains a list of demands that the President Syngman Rhee prepared to negotiate with the UN and US. Value: this statement is very detailed and gives much insight on what President Syngman Rhee wanted for the future of Korea. Something else that adds value is that this message was directed to other political leaders. This shows us the way that they communicated. Limitation: a big limitation is that it's nearly too detailed, holding only statistical data rather than the ambitions that the president had. It also seems too political, nearly as if he was making a list of demands instead of trying to negotiate with other countries.